This is the story of why I left my American dream. A thriving business, a large farm with no neighbors, gave up all my animals, and moved halfway across the world to a country whose language I didn't speak to live in a city center with thousands of neighbors. Am I crazy? Maybe. But God told me to go, so I went. After a 20-year career in corporate IT, I ended up quitting my job in 2017 to be a stay-at-home mom, which I felt the Lord calling me to do. It was hard losing two incomes, but my husband and I had faith. And in 2018, I started my own online business. I failed so many times that I lost count, but after a few months, I finally started to find my niche in digital marketing, and my business began doing pretty well. But there was a long ways to go, and I found myself really barely getting to spend time with my husband and my baby. Seriously, not even dinner. So I started praying the prayer of Jabez, and wow, the Lord moved. He answered me and he blessed us beyond belief. In 2021, my husband was able to retire from corporate at age 40, and we bought a huge farm and house of our dreams. We spent a couple years homesteading it, going off the grid and growing our own food and tending animals, because after Rona, I just couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom for the US. And I actually prayed for a couple of years about it, seeking the Lord and asking Him if we needed to leave the country. And after a while, it became really frustrating to not hear His voice. So I started seeking Him more, and I watched a special sermon on hearing the Lord's voice. And in July of 2014, the Holy Spirit was just completely poured out on me, and I couldn't help but spend every second with the Lord. And guys, it hit me hard. I wept. I started dreaming again after many years of black nights. But it wasn't until we started doing homeless outreach and giving out Bibles that He finally answered me verbally. And one morning in prayer, when I asked if we should leave, He said yes. And as you can imagine, I had many questions after that. What, when, how, where? But I focused on just one question: where? And after about a week, He answered with one word: Judea. Judea? I was like, what? I knew that it was in Israel, but like I had to look it up to be sure like which area, and it was specifically the area around Jerusalem. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" Because that's like a big deal, right? And he said yes. And it was like a total punch in the gut. I mean, I did really not want to do this. I really, really, really did not want to. And we had worked so hard to finally get to live our dream. We had only been on the farm for a couple of years, and we managed to go off grid, grow our own food, and like we were really excited the way that was headed. But He knew my feelings about this, and He reminded me what would happen with a little story of Jonah. Double gut punch. And He sent me countless confirmation stuff over the next few days, from scripture to just seeing them in ads or mail or flyers or anything. At one point, I giggled because I was like, yes, Lord. Okay, I saw it so many times. So at this point, I knew that we needed to go. I just didn't know when. So I really started seeking Him about that. So I decided it was time to break the news to my family. After going to South America twice, Antarctica, and not wanting to travel the rest of the year, remember we said we were going to stay home. Oh, I guess we're going on another adventure. My husband was like, oh, fun, where? And I said, Israel. And if you didn't know, you probably know this already, but Israel's been in and out of war throughout its history, but especially since October 7, when, WHO invaded and took hostages. And it was very common to have to run to shelters because of the sirens. And anyway, after explaining what had happened to my husband, he was very, very supportive. But when we started telling our friends and family, they absolutely did not understand at all. And they even tried to talk us out of it. So eventually I stopped telling people. I mean, they were like, are you sure that's a good idea? It's a war zone. And I just got really tired of hearing that. And I just heard like the enemy through that trying to talk me out of it. So I believe and I trust in the Lord's perfect plan. And I trust that He protects His children. And not leaving us or forsaking us. So anyway, I stopped telling people and I bought plane tickets for 2 weeks from then. I'm a planner and there was a ton to do in just 2 weeks. We started making plans for the farm. I started planning the trip, but every time I tried to pick a hotel, I felt the Lord say, stop. So I stopped. But a couple days later, I freaked out about not having a place to stay. I was like, Lord, they're going to ask me at the airport, where are you staying? What's the address? For how long are you staying? And I need to have an answer. And he replied, still waters. Like, he leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. So he was telling me to chill. And then he gave me 4 scriptures about sending messengers to help. I didn't know what that meant, but I was faithfully following. And if you knew me, you would know that I was way out of my comfort zone. But he kept encouraging me with stories about Abraham and Sarah and Ruth and Naomi. And I felt him telling me, it's time to level up. And then the confirmation. I looked up at the ceiling of my room and I saw a flyer that I had wedged into the air vent to get it to stop rattling from a conference that I went to with big bold letters. It's time to level up. I just love our Father. When it was time to leave, we had a sense that we needed to say goodbye to the farm. So we left with lots of weeping. But a gentle reminder, I will turn their mourning into joy. I will comfort them and give them joy for their sorrow. We hopped on a very long series of flights and some delays, and I can't sleep on moving vehicles. So by the time we got to Germany, I was completely sleep deprived and exhausted. I asked God for confirmation that we were doing the right thing. And at that very moment, an airline attendant stopped by and said, chocolate, with a smile on her face. She opened a box, and inside the box were about 50 tiny boxes of individually wrapped chocolates that said, yes, one for the team. Not even making this up, I even took a picture. Once we reached Tel Aviv, we exited the airport and we found massive escalators heading outside. So it takes about 10 minutes or more to reach the top. And at this time, we still had no plan, and I'm even more tired. So I was praying, Lord, please don't forsake me. Please don't leave me. Please don't forsake me, over and over again. And I was just so tired. Once we got to the top, we walked by an information desk, and there was a lady that was waving at us. She was like waving with both hands. I never asked for help, okay? But she was waving us down, and she was really persistent. So we stopped by the desk. Can I help you with something? She asked politely. And I said, sure. What kind of information can you give me? Because I had no idea what to ask her. And she laughed and she said, about what? And I replied, well, we have no place to stay. And so she grabbed a map and she hopped out of the booth and she came over and she started circling places on the map, and she said, this is the old city, you have to stay here, you have to stay at Jaffa Gate, there's only one hotel right now, and they're going to take great care of you, it's going to be awesome, because we told her that we were Christian. So she's like, you have to go there. And then she gave me her WhatsApp and then sent me on our way, and so we finally had a place to stay, and little did I know that was messenger number 1. So keep in mind, at this point, we've been traveling for like a day and a half, 2 days, and we're really tired. We have a bunch of suitcases and stuff. So we figured out how to get on the public transportation, which is like this cute little light rail. And we kind of looped around, and then we finally figured it out. But we finally got to the old city, and I cannot explain my first thoughts walking past the wall of the old city toward the gate. It was incredible. I mean, it's just breathtaking. And the thought that, wow, this is where Jesus walked is just completely unexplainable. I started crying, and then we stepped inside the gate of the old city and we were transported back in time a few hundred years. There was only one hotel that was active at the time, but we couldn't find it. I frantically ran around trying to find it with our suitcases, and we were being called by vendors like, Habibi, come check out my shop, I give you 99% off, blah, 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 blah. And I was really, really tired. I was not feeling it. So the hotel ended up being tucked inside of an alley. We couldn't find it. And I kept hearing, lady, do you need help? And I thought, well, it's just another dude trying to sell me something. So I was ignoring him. And he was like chasing me down the street. And I finally turned around and I was like, yes, actually, you can help us find this hotel. So he pointed down a long alleyway and he was like, it's down that way. And we finally found it. So that was messenger number 2. We headed inside the hotel, And I understood immediately why the Lord did not want me to choose a hotel ahead of time, because I would never have chosen to stay at this hotel. Don't get me wrong, it was nice, but it was just not my vibe. But the location was absolutely perfect. And we ended up meeting messenger number 3 inside, who gave us the map and told us about a dinner place to go because we were starving. But everywhere that we went, the hand of the Lord was upon us, and we knew that he was always working, he was always moving, and he was always providing. There was always something for everyone. And when they say, let go and let God, we literally had to do that. I mean, I have planned my whole life. I'm the oldest daughter, okay? I literally planned my whole life. And it was actually amazing to let go and let him plan everything for a change. And just like a puzzle, he put everything in place for us. And we definitely feel closer to him now, especially since getting to see the Bible come to life in the Holy Land. I have so many more stories, but I know I'm like running out of time for this video. Just like Abraham believed the Lord and the Lord counted him as righteous because of it, you show your love for the Lord and your righteousness through your faith in being obedient. We've had a lot of adventures since then. That was about 9 months ago. So if you want to find out more, leave a comment, tell me what you want to see, or go check out my page for other videos from the Holy Land and watch the Bible come to life. As always, stay blessed and trust in the Lord because he's coming back very soon.